Welcome back to the BTS Happy Hour podcast. I'm your host, Andrea. With me, as always, is Morgan.
Hey, what's up, guys?
This week, BTS and its management company, Big Hit Entertainment, have teamed up to donate $1 million to Crew Nation, which is Live Nation's campaign to support live entertainment personnel impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. So they seem to be very generous these past few months. They donated $1 million to Black Lives Matter and then now $1 million to Crew Nation. And they also gave a bunch of money to all those artists for the Connect BTS thing. So they're very on top of donating this year.
Well, I mean, it's a good cause, right? What is these people are people who were working on the concert or the tours?
Yeah, it sounds like Live Nation put together this campaign to help all the people that would have worked on all these tours. Right. And this is, according to them, one of the largest artist donations that has been raised for Crew Nation. And let's see, it says it launched in March with $5 million to start with, and it gives grants of $1,000 to crew members who make 50% or more of their income from live performances. And of course, BTS planning a big tour, we're probably going to use a lot of people for that. So I'm sure they feel bad that all these people couldn't work. And hopefully that encourages other artists to donate too, because I kind of forgot about these workers. I mean, there's a lot of people that are getting donations for various things because of all the different things going on because of coronavirus and protests and stuff. But I didn't really.
A lot of people are out of work, obviously, but this is definitely one of the major ones because we're sure there's no concerts.
Yeah, and there's not a lot else they could do. Like if that's your specialty, is like I'm a sound guy and I do this. There's not that many. There's not events happening at all, so that's good for them. Hopefully, they will encourage other artists to donate too, and maybe ARMY can organize another campaign to match the funds too if they think that's a worthy cause.
I think it's a good thing. They should donate to them if they want. If they don't want, that's also fine. But since these are the support apparatus for their industry, I mean, these are the people that make them go right on their tours.
Yeah, definitely.
It does make sense for them to support.
Want to help them out. So on June 19th, representatives from the top K-pop labels gathered together to express their concerns about performance in light of the ongoing pandemic, and they're asking the government for what the guidelines are going to be for resuming regular concerts. It says offline concerts, but I feel like that's weird. It's just concerts.
What did you say, California? California or Korea? What? I missed that.
They didn't say where, but...
It makes a big difference. Which...
Well, they're talking to the Korean government, so I think
Korea then.
I think they want to start first in Korea and see if they can get this stuff going again.
Because it's very specific to your area.
I think the U.S. we're not even talking about that yet.
No, we are. You know why? Because the major sports seasons are coming up. That's a big part of the U.S. economy, and also I don't even want to downplay it by saying that. That kind of sounds like us downplaying it. It's a big part of U.S. culture and society. I'm a sports fan. Most people are sports fans. We want to see sports happen. If there's any feasible way they can make it happen, they're going to try to do it.
You think that's realistic by September when football would be starting?
Yes. I think they can hold the actual events for sure. How many people can attend? That is a different story. I think there may be major and very deleterious restrictions on who can attend or how many can attend. But as far as, you can hold an event where athletes play a match. Yeah, I think that can happen. Even though that in itself is, people exposing themselves to each other. But, no more than, I hate to say protests or whatever, the normal stuff people are doing, right? I mean, people are not isolated right now 100%. So people participating in an athletic event, it's not out of bounds as far as, what people are actually doing at the moment.
Yeah.
But what is a stretch is 60,000 people gathering in a stadium to watch something. That is something that people may not be comfortable with, and it may not be a good idea. So there may be very common sense restrictions on that sort of thing. But as far as whether the event can happen, whether, they can actually play the matches, yeah, I think it can happen. And I think it will for various reasons, economic and even social. People need to, I want to see my sports. I watch sports.
Yeah.
I want to see them happen.
People want to feel normal
if
again.
people are not in the stands, that's a compromise I can make, you know? It won't feel the same, but it's a compromise I can make, but I want to see these sports happen.
Well, sometimes you go to games and it's not full anyway, so you could just think of it like that.
No, they're always full. Unless your team is abjectly terrible. And there's very few teams like, yeah. And in America, like, let's say like we're talking about football, even the bad teams, there's tons of people in the stands. It's only like baseball, where sometimes it's, well, because baseball has so many games and some teams are so bad. I'm lucky. I never had to grow up with a really bad baseball team for most of my life. But sometimes you grow up with a really bad baseball team. There's like 10,000, 6,000 people in the stands. And it's almost like social distancing. Right? Yeah. But they're not social distancing. Your team's just bad.
Yeah.
And not many people have come to see them. The games can happen. But this is not the same as concerts, right? Because sporting events, they have reasons to do the event. Besides the attendees, the TV, all of that, right? But
yeah.
You don't do a concert unless there's no reason unless there's people here to see it. Like there's a lot of people here to see it. So concert is a very, very different thing than a sporting event.
But I think in the U.S., if sports can happen, then I think concerts will follow. They're just going to like ride the coattails of when sports are allowed.
Maybe, but they may have different rules, right? Like what if they have rules that in a stadium that normally seats 65,000 people, you can only have 20,000 people?
Oh, yeah.
Will it still be worth it for a concert? What if they have a rule that says in a arena that sits 20,000 people, you can only have 8,000 people? Would they still do it? That's a question. I don't know the financials behind these things so well, but maybe the answer is no. Maybe the answer is yes. But for sports, the answer is almost always yes, because there's so much money from TV that they can play in front of nobody and it'd probably be worth it. Because the TV contract bring in more money than the gates, right? So athletes will play in front of nobody and it'll be profitable. But a concert can't play in front of nobody. There's no $1 billion TV contract for your tour, right? So that's a totally different thing. Hopefully it will not be so bad in some areas and they can tour. This has direct bearing on us because we have a bunch of concert tickets in limbo right now.
We don't know the dates for these rescheduled.
When are you guys going to reschedule this? When are we going to go to this? I'll go whenever it happens, but whatever.
But from this story, it sounds like the top 4 labels are really trying to work on getting concerts going again in Korea. So once that's set up, then since BTS starts their tour in Korea, then they can work on American dates again. So that'll be like an important part of it. But just the fact that they're having a big meeting and they're like, hey, what are the rules? Like that tells me they really want to get back to it. And they're talking about concerts in Q3 and Q4. That's basically just the second half of this year, right? When they talk about that.
Correct.
So it's like, hey, can we do this like as soon as possible?
But Korea is on a different timeline than us, right?
Yeah.
Because they experienced it first and they've sort of got through it first.
They're ahead of the curve.
So
that's why I didn't even expect our concerts to come back until
next year. It's going to be next year.
Yeah, after them, for sure.
Or I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't want to make any declarations. This is such an unprecedented time. You look foolish making any sort of declarations, but it kind of feels like everything is 2021, right? It kind of feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty sad thing to say because it's like, wow, this year is shot. It's only June, and it's like nothing fun will happen the rest of this year, basically, and you just have to accept that idea. And it's like, I don't want to accept that reality.
Well, you can have fun. You can sit at home.
It's like fun at home.
Or whatever you can do at home.
Zoom parties.
Yeah, Zoom parties. Those dumb parties where people, they put glow-in-the-dark sticks on their body and start dancing like idiots. I've seen that.
So on June 26th, BTS released their Stay Gold music video, and it was on YouTube. I thought it was a very good video. It didn't have like a ton of story like some of their other videos do, but I don't need a whole complicated thing going on. Mm-hmm. The concept seemed to be each member was in a separate bad situation, like a abandoned house or like a bus that was run down, or, you know, in a place that's abandoned. I don't know, like all these different things, and they were all in a dark place, and the message was just try to like get through it. And I think the whole thing was like a metaphor for being in quarantine, like getting through a tough situation.
Oh, I didn't pick that up on that at all.
Maybe that was just in my mind already, but that's what I thought it was, because the whole message of the song was like kind of like stay gold, like just stay strong, like during a tough time. And then you see later on they get out of their bad situations, and then they go to like a place that's very colorful and it has, you know, a lot of plants and stuff.
I didn't read that much into it. Like I said before, my preference, and this is just me totally projecting my own preferences on it, I wanted to be like a Jason Mraz video, so I wanted something more colorful and cheery all the way through. It kind of, there was some sort of, they were in like a, it was kind of dark, which is, you know, it's all right, but it wasn't what I would have preferred. I just wanted to be a happy, cheerful song all the way through. And it wasn't that, which is fine. But it was sort of what I was expecting, but it's not a bad video, even though it subverted my expectations.
It did look like some of the sets were things we've seen before, because it just looked kind of familiar. Like some of the places from Fake Love, or this like random mattress that I don't even know what video that was, but it was like a mattress that one of them was laying on. But I don't know if it was purposely trying to be tied to those other videos, or if it was, they just like recycled stuff to put in this video. But I like when there was a set where it's like, okay, all 7 of them are in the fun times. Like, I don't know if that was supposed to be a memory, whereas all 7 of them, they were like having fun and smiling. Was that supposed to be a memory, or is that like a flashback? But it was like, oh, we're listening to music, we're like petting dogs, we're reading a book, we're like playing catch. So I like that scene. That was like, okay, obviously this means something. Anytime you have dogs in anything, whether it's like commercials or a video, dogs, it's like, that means happy times.
Yeah, obviously.
That's a fact.
Everyone loves dogs. If they don't love dogs, they're probably serial killers or something.
Yeah.
Yep. Or cat lovers, which is not that much different, is it? I don't care if I said that. Yeah. For all you cat lovers out there, I don't care. No to cats.
Oh, and then like one thing I noticed was there's a part where it's all 7 of them were gathered together and having happy times. And it was like, Jin was reading a book. Like, would you read a book when you're with all your friends and just hanging out?
Sure, maybe if you're not really friends with them. Maybe they're all frenemies. You
It's
don't
like,
know.
I'm just going to read while everybody else is like...
Maybe he doesn't like his quote-unquote friends.
Maybe there was some kind of message there.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you get 7 people together... I once read an article, and I don't know how true this is, okay? But I'm going to guess it's true, just based on my personal life. It said something like, half of your quote-unquote friends hate you. Yeah. Half of your... And I thought, this is not realistic at all. Why would they be my friends? Why would they hang out with me? Why would I hang out with them? And then I thought about it, and I said, wait, I don't like half of the people I hang out with. Would I say that I hate them? No, I don't hate them. Wouldn't like want them to be put to death or sent to like Siberia or something like that. But I don't like them, and I say bad things about them behind their backs. I'll be honest, and I don't care. I will admit it. If you can't admit it, you're a liar, okay? A percentage of the people you hang out with and who would probably say, oh yeah, that person is my friend, you say bad things about them. You don't actually like that person, do you? That doesn't mean you're an evil person for not walking up to them and knocking on their door and saying, hey, I just need you to know that I really don't like you. And we should probably just not hang out together because I dislike this and that about you. No, you wouldn't do that.
Well,
there's no emotional, social intelligence behind that sort of action. What?
Sometimes you just need like people to hang out with, and you can't.
Well, but
like,
also
you can't pick and choose who comes.
Sometimes there's peer groups, right? There's peer groups, right?
Right, and one person comes with these other people,
right,
and you can't like separate.
You don't hate them so much that you're like, I cannot abide being around you. But at the same time, you're snarky to them, and you don't like them, and when they're not around, you say some snide things about them. Come on.
Or later, you're like, I can't believe so and so said this.
Yeah, they said this, and can you believe they did this? And come on, everybody has that. I'm not friends with them. And yet we spend social time together for whatever reason, either because we're stuck together through connections or through habit or whatever the case may be.
Or it's like they're just the people that will be social.
And you don't have the guts, or you're too lazy to just tell them, hey, I don't enjoy your company. Let's stop spending time together. Because you don't necessarily you do dislike
Well,
them.
it's just too direct. It's like, well,
Yeah.
that's going to cause more
And
issues.
also, let's be frank. Even the people you dislike, when you hang out with them, you do glean some sort of satisfaction from it. Because after you hang out with them, you can talk shit about them or whatever. And say, oh, so and so, isn't it so funny? This is typical stuff, Just look into your heart. This is true. I know I sound very shallow right now, but everybody's like this, okay? Just remember that the next time you're hanging out with a group of like 8 or 9 people, 4 of them hate you. No, they don't hate you. They dislike you. And also they may hate you. There's like a range of it, right? Just think about that and think which one is which. That'll drive you crazy. Actually, don't think about that. Do not think about that. Which one of my so-called friends actually hates my guts? Yeah.
Now you've planted the seed.
I think that article is correct because I am that way with the people I know. Right? What was the point again? I got sidetracked.
We were talking about why was Jin reading a book while he's supposedly hanging out with everybody?
Oh, because maybe he doesn't like all the members of BTS. I'm sorry to say that. Maybe he doesn't.
I think
I know that in BTS fans' minds, you like to think they are all buddies and they all get along and everything, but it might not be true.
I think it was just meant as a prop in this video. Like he wanted to hold up that book.
I'm sure it was.
And the book was, and I had to pause it. It was like, it's a Midsummer Night's Dream. And I think the whole purpose was to like, oh, okay, that's what that is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a memory or a dream.
I'm sure they're not trying to make a commentary on their interpersonal dynamics.
This is not like, okay, this is a clue.
I hate sugar.
This is a clue about how Jin hates everybody. It's
he thought that
if
I hold this book up, they'll know that I hate RM. People will know. No, I don't think that's the case. But you probably do have to accept the idea that maybe they don't all get along with each other. It is very possible. You're not best friends with everybody, and there's some people you're kind of frenemies with. You're like, if anybody is not familiar with that term, where did it originate?
I think Mean Girls.
Mean Girls. So yeah, you act like you're friends, but you're not really friends. But you hang out with each other because you're in the same social circle. You can't just go at it. It's not Band of Brothers. It's a regular social peer group. So yeah, I don't think it indicates that, but it's an interesting thing to think about because that's what it reminded me of.
So in addition to BTS having a new video today, Blackpink also released their How You Like That video, and they also had a performance on Jimmy Fallon. I definitely like this song. I liked it more than Kill This Love when I first heard it.
Yeah.
I thought it had a really good hook, and I liked all their different looks.
Mm-hmm.
And the video was pretty good. It did seem a little bit like there's just a couple of sets, like kind of like before. Like they didn't do anything super different than before, but I like the sound of the song and the beats, and it sounded like a song you would hear in a club.
Well, my opinion, the song slaps. It's perfect for foreign markets. It's perfect for America, really. And this is the kind of song that we would like to hear.
Yeah.
And that's actually not a compliment because America likes to hear really trashy songs right now, but whatever, that's fine. But I do love how perfect the Blackpink girls are for doing this sort of thing. They just they just fit that image. They have that swag, It's believable, even though we know that underlying that, it's not authentic. We know it's not authentic, right? We know they act a certain way in the videos, like empowered, strong women or whatever, but we know
badass
it's like,
women.
Yeah, like, it's a K-pop group, so it's like shy Korean girls probably.
They're still going to be like really nice and polite in person.
But I don't care about authenticity. That's not that important to me.
No.
They pull it off, and they have the look. They have everything about it. I think it's perfect for conquering the worldwide market.
I think it's really hard because it's been so long since they had a new release. Like there's probably so much pressure, and it's like, okay, if this song isn't amazing and blow everybody away, then there's going to be all
the
this
song
like,
is not
criticism.
amazing. I don't think the song is amazing, but a song doesn't have to be amazing for it to be successful, right? The video is very good. The promotion is done right, and we haven't heard the rest of the album. Mm-hmm. And it's a full album, so it's a bunch of songs, right? It's like 10, 11.
You're going to have a lot to choose from.
Right. I'm not backing off with my assertion that they will be the most successful K-pop transplant. They just have to be put to work. Let's hope that YG is, he stays out of prison. The company does its job and everything goes well for them. Because that's all it would take. Other than that, I think they're primed to take over every market.
I think the only obstacle for Blackpink is that Americans have whatever preconceived notion about K-pop, and then they're going to think, oh, well, Blackpink is K-pop, and K-pop is just for like teen girls or something.
Yeah, but I think they're going to get over it with how good Blackpink presents itself. They have a lot of other advantages. They're cute, attractive Asian girls, and they're pretty good singers, and the production values are great, and they work hard at their craft. I don't know how hard Cardi B works, okay? I'm certain that it's not as hard as Blackpink works.
Yeah, not very hard.
For choreography, et cetera, et cetera. And they have English speakers. This is vital, and not all K-pop groups have this. Could they get to like the level of like a Taylor Swift, where they could play a stadium? No, probably not. But this is the two different things we're talking about.
Well, they would have to fill a stadium, though. If you think they're going to be the number one K-pop act, like bigger than BTS, and BTS is doing stadiums.
Oh, true. They would have to fill a stadium at some point. I don't know. Maybe. Well, there's a difference between being the number one with views and listens and all that.
That's true. That's different than concert.
Yeah. And also, you have to keep in mind worldwide. I do think that Blackpink, due to... And a lot of this, strangely, just has to do with Lisa being Thai. They're just so strong in Southeast Asia and places like that worldwide they have an appeal that a 100% Korean group doesn't necessarily have.
That's so crazy that just putting one member that's like a different nationality, like that makes such a big difference. Right.
And when you look at their YouTube views are so strong, right? And YouTube views are a very good indication of your aggregate popularity.
The only thing I didn't understand is this was the first performance on Jimmy Fallon or the first live performance of this song anywhere, and it's on Jimmy Fallon, but then they didn't do an interview. It's like, why did they not do one?
I would chalk that up to Jimmy Fallon's laziness. The guy doesn't even wear more than like a sweatshirt for his... Hey, you know what? And it auto-played something else where Jimmy Fallon's introducing another act, and he's wearing the same sweatshirt, which leads me to believe that he recorded a bunch of these back-to-back. How lazy can you be? Wear a suit, dude. Are you not at work?
This is what happens, though. People work at home, and then it's like, I'll just take all the easy way.
Hey, you know what? Everything. That's okay for me working at home. You make 15, I don't know what he makes, but he makes $10 to $20 million a year. You can wear a suit, Jimmy Fallon.
So lately there's been a couple of issues where people have been accused of plagiarism in K-pop, and I'm not talking about song plagiarism or anything like that. I mean, if song plagiarism happens, I'm sure that people have a case for it, and that goes to whatever judging body, and then they decide whether it is or isn't. I'm talking about makeup plagiarism and dance plagiarism, like stuff like that, where it's like not clear like if it counts or not. So recently, Blackpink was accused of stealing someone's work. This person was, what is she exactly? I guess she's a person on Instagram. She's like a makeup artist, and she had a certain kind of makeup look that she did, which ended up being really similar to Jennie's makeup for the How You Like This teaser, which had like, if you remember, like she had one eye with like pink flames.
I'm gonna end this right now. You cannot copyright makeup.
Yeah, that's the question. Is like, can a makeup?
Oh well, I answered the question.
Is a makeup look plagiarizing?
No, you can't copyright it. It can't be intellectual property. I'm not a lawyer, but I will bet my life savings that you cannot copyright a makeup look.
I'm not sure what is wrong with being inspired by that. Like, it's just like, okay, people put these looks on Instagram, and it's like, don't you want people to...
It's not even wrong to straight up rip it off, because you cannot copyright it. You can copyright an entire artistic piece, like a ballet, for instance, right? But a dance, like what you would see on Fortnite or whatever, this has been established. You cannot copyright that. I'm just strictly speaking about the law. Now, maybe you think that morally you should be able to or whatever. I'm not going to engage in that discussion because that's subjective. But you can't legally copyright these things. All I care about is whether you can legally copyright these things. You cannot.
Right. So you're looking at legal definitions of things. But
There's no way.
I just don't understand someone being upset. It's like you're a makeup artist and you put all these different looks on Instagram. Don't you want people to be inspired by that and
I
doing
can
the same
understand why you're
thing?
upset. Maybe you think that maybe they should have given you some credit for it.
But like at the most, what are they gonna do? It's like just tag you in an Instagram thing, you know?
Yeah.
You're
Although
not gonna-
that could be big because,
Yeah, that could be, but
if you get a lot of Instagram followers, maybe you'd say, "Oh yeah, I appreciate that."
it's not gonna, they're not gonna be like, "Oh, I saw this on your Instagram. Here's some money."
Right.
Like that's not.
No, they don't have to give you money. Maybe you would appreciate some of the credit, but at the same time, they don't have to give you any credit. Too bad, so sad. That's just the way it is. Should they have maybe done it? Yeah.
I just think that's the risk you run when you put all this stuff on Instagram or at a public forum. Like, of course, someone's gonna see it and oh, let me do the same thing. And it's like, what can you do?
We just have I'm not going to say they're consistent, but we have pretty consistent laws, even country to country, about what can be copyrighted. You're out of luck. Now, can you go on social media and raise a fuss and maybe you can get some attention that way? Yeah. Some of it's going to be negative attention, though. Some of it may be positive, but you're not going to extract any sort of legal satisfaction from them because you cannot copyright it. Same thing with the dances. Certain things you can copyright. Certain things that you can win lawsuits.
Yeah, the other situation I was going to bring up was that time that Blackpink or Lisa was accused of stealing someone's choreography for her
Well,
solo
that was
dance.
ended pretty early because the person said, "No, I backtrack," right? And also, we know for a fact that you cannot copyright certain dance moves, so you have no legal standing.
Well, and I didn't think they were that similar. Like if you look at them
And they were not that similar.
both,
Correct.
it's like, okay, they had some kind
And they
of
were not that similar.
somewhat similar elements,
Yes.
but I didn't think it was like, oh, I'm looking at the same thing just by two different
Right.
people.
There's no legal standing, even if they were exactly similar. So that's a nothing, okay? Might they have gone and actually just straight up lifted it? Yeah.
Well, the other thing is in Asia, it just seems like I'm sorry if this is a generalization, but it feels like they don't always respect intellectual property. So if they see something somewhere, they'll just copy it, or they'll just like, oh yeah, I'll just use that in my work.
That's true, but if they want to do business in other parts of the world, then they also still have to respect our standards of copyright.
Yeah.
I don't totally blame people who raise these fusses, who say, "Hey, you stole this." Now, even if you have no leg to stand on, you may get into a situation like an ambulance chaser. You may get into a situation where the company just figures it's not worth the trouble to litigate this, and they'll just settle with you. You'll get some money. That's fine. I mean, if that's a tactic. That's a tactical decision, right? You just figure, if I complain about it, if I raise a fuss, maybe they just won't want to deal with it, and they'll settle with me for some amount of money. I know I'm wrong, but hey, a lot of people who knew they were wrong sued anyway, thinking that, well, maybe the defendant will just settle.
They'll just pay me to go away.
Yeah, that's happened many, many times in human history, okay? And do I think it's a good thing? No, I don't think it's a good thing. You know, it's a thing that exists. And even if you have extreme tort reform, this type of thing will always sort of exist in some form or another.
Well, do you think if the group settles, then that's admitting that they copied
No,
that?
I don't think that at all. I do not think that at all. Nope.
Yeah, sometimes it'll be like, well, we just don't want to deal with this. Well, here's some money and let's end this right now.
Unfortunately, a lot of people who see that situation will interpret it that way. They'll think, well, you settled. That must mean you admitted guilt. No. It might mean that the people who are giving us trouble, they asked for an amount of money that was low enough that we just said, well, it's not that much money. Let's just pay them. Until you have been sued for something like that and made that raw calculation about, is it just worth it to pay him off? It's not about the principle always, right? If it was about the principle, you'd fight it 100% to the end to say, well, I'm in the right.
But it's easy to sit here and just say, well, if I didn't copy it, then I will never settle.
Right.
You know?
But if, let's say the people asked for a certain amount of money that was just incidental to you, is it not easier just to settle?
It's easier to settle if you don't want to like create more headlines. It's this company is
and
dealing
sometimes
with
when
this
people
plagiarism.
And sometimes when people bring frivolous lawsuits, this is what they're depending on. Settling is not an admission of guilt. Settling is just, we settled. This matter is over, right? That's what people. I think that's what the average person needs to take away from this. When something is brought, it doesn't mean that the people who bring it really even believe in that, And when somebody settles, it doesn't mean that the people who settle are admitting guilt. That's what you need to understand. This is just all legal stuff.
Another example I was going to bring up about plagiarism was in Twice's More and More video. They had, remember the scene where they're outside and they're dancing on an island?
Yeah.
That huge art installation. Apparently there's an artist who did something like pretty much exactly like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
like the island?
No, the thing that was above it, like that.
It looked like a mess.
Yeah, that very colorful thing. It looked like a bunch of
Sure.
diamonds or something, and it was like all these different colors. And then this person, well, I don't know if it's like.
He said you stole it from me.
Oh yeah, it's male. He said he's an American artist. Of course, American. They're gonna complain.
Mm-hmm.
But he said an artist named Davis McCarty noticed that the set piece on the video very closely resembled a replica of his own installation piece called Pulse Portal. And he said, Korean K-pop band Twice steals my design and then creates a replica.
Where did he say this? On a blog?
It said SNS. I don't know what that means.
SNS?
Twitter or Instagram? I don't know what they...
SNS is like a messaging. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
I'm sure he didn't just text it to somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said that Twice stole his design for his art project and that this is copyright infringement.
Yeah.
And
they just settled with him.
Yeah,
right?
It sounded like JYP got in contact with this artist and they're trying to come to a deal. And I don't know if they...
Oh, trying. I thought they did.
I thought they did, but then maybe he didn't accept it.
Okay.
It sounded like it's ongoing right now still.
Okay, listen. Number one, I thought that installation or that set, well, let's call it a set since it was in the video, right? First of all, I thought it was ugly. I thought it was crap. So if they copied that thing for their thing, the thing that they copied was crap in the first place. But that's neither here nor there. Copying is still not good. The other thing is I want to make a statement about installation art. If you don't know anything about art, just know one thing. Anytime somebody calls their art installation art, okay, as opposed to a painting or a sculpture, or, the traditional forms of art that you understand as art. If they say installation art, it is total garbage. It is like them putting like flags in a field or toilets on a wall, okay? And if you think I'm joking, just Google installation art. It is not art. That's just my position. So for him to say, oh, you copied my thing. It's like, what is your thing? Well, it was on the water, and it had a bunch of colorful... I don't remember what it was. Flags? What is it? Diamonds above there in an arch?
Yeah, a lot of like triangle and diamond shapes in all these different colors. And yeah, it was like an arch over them.
I'm sorry. Even if it looked very similar, I just do not think that the art designers at JYP were like looking up American installation artists and thinking, oh, well, what can we copy? What can we copy?
Like, it looks similar, but it doesn't look exactly the same.
Also, not only... Listen, I acknowledge that it looks similar, but the concept, you have to ask yourself, is the concept that novel?
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying.
It's an arch of colorful
It's a bunch of like
crap.
colored glass.
Yeah, an arch
triangles.
of colorful crap, right? I could totally see other people thinking, well, we have this platform on water. We don't just want it. We want to spice it up somehow. What can we do? Well, it's got to be an arch of something because arches are the most logical thing, right?
Yeah,
that's
want
the most
some
logical,
like three-dimensional thing.
And arches are the most logical, self-sustaining thing that holds itself up, right? And then someone said, well, it's got to be colorful. And then they said, well...
Okay, we'll put all different colors
a bunch of colored junk. Okay, what shape will it be? I don't know, triangles or squares? Great, done. There, you've already mimicked this guy's quote-unquote installation art. But the first 3 steps of it were totally reasonably logical that anybody would have come up with.
Well, I just don't know how does the artist know that they saw his work?
Well,
because
I have no idea.
It's like, I never heard of him. I never seen his art before, so maybe they never did either. I don't know who's so in tune with the art world of knowing.
So one of his friends said, hey, I saw this Twice video, and they had a thing that looked like your crappy installation
art.
Like,
I really think it could have been independently created.
I mean, there's totally independent stuff. There's totally independent stuff.
People have totally independently created physics equations that are like groundbreaking.
Exactly.
Like that's totally happened before.
Nature has created convergent evolution. Nature has created two animals that look exactly the same, that are not actually very related to each other. I know that it's not that close to this topic, but just go with me here.
No, I
okay?
understand.
Nature has a thing called convergent evolution, where usually when two things look similar, you think that, oh, they sort of like came from the same place, right? They evolved from this a common ancestor. Sometimes, even if they look similar and their function is similar, they evolved from two totally different ancestors, but due to the stresses of the environment, they have come to look similar. That happens in nature too.
And
bottom line, Twice doesn't have to pay you.
I don't know why. Maybe they decided to talk to this artist just for like PR. Like they didn't want to look bad. They're just like, okay, maybe we didn't I'm like, I don't know exactly if they copied him or not.
They're trying to break into the American market, and they probably didn't want to piss an American off. But you know what? There's a lot of Americans, and not all of them are good. In fact, I would say a good 60% of them are just freaking bad people. So it's okay to piss them off. This guy is in that group.
Maybe they don't know that yet.
They don't know that
yet. Like, oh, whatever.
Like, oh, we don't want to insult. Like, maybe they're being more like their attitude is like being a polite Korean.
Yeah.
They don't want to make waves.
They're like, when a Korean complains, the Koreans listen, and they're like, oh, let's listen to that.
We don't want to make an American person mad because we want to make it big in America. But hey, it's okay because most of us Americans, we don't know this guy. We don't care about this guy. We don't like this guy.
I never heard of him.
We also think that his quote unquote artwork is total crap. So go ahead and just give this guy the middle finger. Please be my guest.
They could have. I wouldn't have thought any less of them. Like they said, hey, we didn't copy it.
They probably didn't realize that, right?
What they don't realize is that Americans always complain. Like someone always complains. You're gonna have to tune it out.
Americans are more fractured as well. Right? If they offend this one particular segment of America, it's okay. Don't worry about it. The other many segments of America don't care.
Everyone else is just going to ignore that guy and his complaint.
Yeah. That guy's dumb.
Like, I'm looking at it. It looks...
That guy's dumb.
It's not even exactly the same.
Yeah. I don't think... If this went to court, he would lose. They could easily have accidentally come upon the same exact combination as your quote-unquote art installation. My answer to you, speaking as the judge, right, in this case, hearing it, is to create art that is better. There's no novelist out there who has to complain about this. Like, if you make his novel into a movie, word for word, it's very obvious you copied him. You know why? Because his art is real art. A novel is real art. And if you copy it, it's really damn obvious. If you made a novel into a movie and you didn't credit that guy, it's really obvious. He's going to sue you and he's going to win. If somebody wrote a novel about, the hero's journey. Oh my God, how many hero's journeys have there been? It's like I started lowly and then I became stronger and then I saved the world. And then you made a movie where somebody started low and then became stronger and then saved the world. Yeah, that's not, you're not going to be able to sue for that. It needs to be specific with specific dialogue. This is not even, doesn't even meet that. The only reason why there was a settlement, or even if there's not a negotiation for settlement, is because JYP just doesn't want to make waves. I guarantee you, JYP consulted lawyers, American lawyers. They said, hey, should we be worried about this? Does this case have merit? And I am almost going to assure you that those lawyers said, no, we can win this case.
I do think plagiarism, there's only so many things that count as plagiarism and that can be proved.
It has to be very specific and very robust. You have to copy a lot of somebody's intellectual property. It has to be very recognizable. The most lax sort of plagiarism I can think of is music. Because I've heard of cases where it's just sort of a chord, but it's so recognizable, right? Like the Vanilla Ice case, where it's like, okay, it's just one chord, true.
Right.
Right? But any reasonable person who listens to that chord, they recognize it. Take that same standard to this glass arch, right? Will any reasonable person look at one glass arch, colorful arch, and say, well, that's just got to be a copy of this other colorful glass arch? No. Just use common sense. And that's usually what the courts do, by the way, because it's a human adjudicating usually.
Yeah.
Like a judge will just hear it and say, yeah, it's obvious. This is the same chord, right? But if they look at this, they're going to say, that's not obvious. It's glass in an arch? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like I invented paintings that have clouds and sky on it. You know,
Right.
it's like, okay, someone could have come up with that too.
I invented Impressionism. Screw you. No, you didn't. Even though you might have, but somebody may have independently come up with it. Do you see what I'm saying? They have a fair argument to say, well, I just sort of came up with it on my own. If they have that argument, then in a modern court of law, people would not award you that case. Whatever. This guy doesn't have a case. If he wins this or gets a settlement, it's because they wanted to settle. The end. Please do not take the settlement to mean an indication of guilt, is what I'm saying.
So there's a story right now about NCT's Taeyong, and he's also in Super M, about, I'm trying to understand the story, but basically he was in contact with a friend from middle school who, I guess he bullied this person a long time ago, but apologized for it, and they're on good terms now. And there's text between them on Kakao, and there was some third-party person who somehow got access to these conversations and then photoshopped some different responses into there and is trying to make Taeyong look bad.
Right.
But it was found out that these conversations were altered by that person. We don't even know what that person's motivation was for doing this. I guess he's trying to take him down. Yeah. And this is now a big thing. And at least it looks like SM is on Taeyong's side and is trying to defend him. And I guess they figured out that this whole situation was created by that third party who is altering the messages. They are trying to, bring legal action against that person, it sounds like.
Yes.
Because this person is spreading malicious rumors about Taeyong using these altered messages.
Right.
Clearly that's defaming his character, and that would really damage him as a person, because this kind of thing is stuff they would kick a person out of a group for, and that's pretty damaging.
Yeah. It's a lot of layers.
Yeah, in Korea, it's very damaging when there's rumors about you, especially if you were bullying someone or in any way not being a nice person. That's really negative in Korea.
So it does appear that Korea has some form of cancel culture too, which I hate, by the way. I mean, if you listen to this podcast at all, you probably know this. So here's my observations on this. Number one, obviously really bad on this person for falsifying records to try to make Taeyong look bad, right? Lying is never good. He tried to make him look bad. He tried to make it look like, oh, they're not in good terms or something, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is he did bully this person, right? When he was in middle school.
Yeah, middle school.
So what are we talking about? Age 14, 15, something like that, right? So he did bully this person. We don't know what the details of that are, right? He probably just said mean things. But then we also do know that he worked it out with that person, apologized, and I think maybe even came to some sort of financial settlement. So maybe it was like serious, whatever he said. But the fact of the matter is, he was young when he did it, and it was settled. So clearly he should not be canceled. So it's good that SM backs him, and all of the people who are trying to cancel him, screw you, right? But the larger issue is, here's my position. Even if he never made things right with this person, he was just a jerk when he was 14, 15, whatever. Why are we so unforgiving about what people do when they're kids? I mean, you want to create an extreme example here, okay? Well, let's push things to the logical extreme and then tease them back to sort of prove my point. What if somebody was a real jerk when they were 6 years old? I don't even remember what I was doing when I was 6 years old, but I bet I was a jerk to some people, right? In a playground or something. I did something bad to somebody, right? And other people have done things bad to me. Would we want their careers derailed?
Yeah, we're talking
for what
about
they did when they were 6.
When people are like 20, 22, 24, like, should that matter?
Right, and you could say, well, that's different because they were 6 years old. Okay, fine, true. But now let's bring it to when they're 14. Well, how different is that? When you're 14, you're still a kid. I say a lot of dumb stuff even now, but I can guarantee you I said even more dumb stuff when I was 15 years old. Would it be fair to derail a person's career? How would you like that standard applied to you? Because I can guarantee you that for the vast majority of people on Earth, if we just said, well, if you did some dumb stuff when you're 15, your career is going to get derailed. That'll be everybody. Because not many people didn't do dumb stuff or say dumb stuff when they were 15 years old. Now, when I say dumb stuff, I don't mean like murder somebody, obviously, right? But that's an extreme example. He didn't murder somebody. He said mean stuff to somebody. Did you say mean stuff to people when you're 15? I certainly did. Did I grow from that? Hopefully. And maybe not. But the point is, even when people commit crimes when they're underage, most countries expunge that after they are adults, right? Most countries have that rule. You know why? Because they recognize that when you're a kid, you're stupid. You're stupid. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So there's some forgiveness. Now, I can sort of understand for a lot of people who are online and participate in this sort of cancel culture, they're very young. So when you're 18 or 19, it's hard for you to just say, well, when he was 15, he did this, but we should forgive it because he was just 15. It's hard for you to think that because you're only 19 at that time, right? So you think like, well, he's an adult like me. Okay. Once you're like 35 and you have the perspective of that, you realize like, God damn, I was dumb. Everybody was dumb when they were 15.
Yeah, that was dumb. Everything I said was dumb.
Even my worst enemy, I would not want to hold them to the standard of have their life ruined for something they did when they were 15 years old. Some of you people who are listening right now are 15 to 21. And do you believe things? Do you say things that I think are absolutely stupid that I don't agree with? Yeah, absolutely. Do I want your life derailed for those things that you say or believe? No, absolutely not. You are a kid.
Especially when it's like 10 years later. It's like, oh, let's bring this up.
Even if it's not 10 years later, I acknowledge that, you're still developing, right? I think that the internet doesn't have that. It has lost that ability to, forgive people for their growing pains.
Well, they decided, everybody's on the same playing field, so everybody can be canceled.
Yeah. Are some people, quote unquote, bullies at 15 who develop into decent people? Yes, absolutely. I'm just going to say yes right now. I don't even have the numbers about. I'm just going to assume that yes, that's happened. And do you want a world where that's just not even allowed? And that's not even, you know what? No chance. You're just, we're just going to dredge that up and ruin something. Ruin your career, whatever. If you're in a group, like a K-pop group, we're going to get you kicked out of it.
Here's what I don't get, though. There's some NCT fans that they put together a letter and they said, we want Taeyong out of the group.
Well, you know what? They're probably antis.
Like, what the hell?
You know how that goes. They're probably fans of other groups of NCT members.
They're probably like fake NCT fans. Because why would they say we want him kicked out just for he bullied someone in middle school? It's like, are you kidding?
They probably are glad if he's gone, then their favorites, their biases.
Their person can shine. Yeah. Okay, so they might be like solo stands.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's the term I'm looking
for. Okay. Yeah, because like this, it's like, why would if you're really a fan of NCT, why would you want him kicked out?
Right.
It's like But
just in general, on the principle, I think it's so backwards and twisted to want to cancel people for something they did when they're 15. I personally know people when I was like 14, 15, 13, whatever, 15, that were bullies in high school. I was not a bully in high school, and I was not like a nerd victim either, but I was kind of in between. But I was like sometimes bullied. Sometimes I was kind of a quasi-bully who said bad things about people. I was just kind of a normal person. But I knew people who were bullies or whatever. Would I want to go back years later and say, I want you to be fired from your job?
It's like you're now working as a lawyer or...
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. How do I know that person hasn't grown and matured since then? And in fact, I would even hazard to guess that I would probably even assume that they have. Because you know what? I'm just guessing that most people do mature and grow.
People are very different from middle school to adult.
Do some people are they just jerks throughout their life? Sure. But you're not even given the chance or the benefit of the doubt. This is ridiculous, man. This is not an intelligent, mature way to go about living in a society. That's all I've got to say about that. Maybe somebody can bring it up and say, hey, by the way, there's like some news that you were maybe a bully. Have you learned some things from that? Have you matured? It's okay to ask a question. And then if he says, that was not the right thing for me to do, and I've learned from that or whatever. Why can't we just take that for what it is and just like take that, give him the benefit of the doubt?
And this person's victim
faked it.
No, like he made up with him. They get along now.
Yeah. So the person who
if he's forgiven him, then
the person who dredged it up faked it. But even if he didn't fake it,
right, the third party person.
My point is, even if he didn't fake it, I'm not going to cancel him. And we can at least cut some people slack for what they're doing from 0 to 18, then I don't know, we cannot cut anybody slack for anything. And that's a really scary society that you want to create. And I don't like it. I don't agree with it. If you say that you didn't do something between the age of 0 and 18 that you regret and you had to grow from, then the only thing I can say is that you are a liar. The only difference is that there's people who, due to the world the way it is now, everything's online, right? People have records of things more than they did when we were growing up. People can dredge that up, hold it against you. They can't do that to me because the records didn't exist in the same way. But they can do it to him. It's just not fair, though. It's not fair.
Yeah, that's what's wrong with today's society. Nobody has forgiveness anymore. Like, they've forgotten what that means.
Yeah,
like,
there's no such thing.
It's just always like, everybody did something wrong. Let's punish. Let's cancel. Let's do this. Like, what about forgiveness? What about let's learn
now, I
from
can
that?
understand if the thing that you did wrong is just like so beyond the pale. You're a murderer or you're a child molester or something like that, right? But that's not the vast majority of these cases. And in this specific case, that's not either. Apparently, he said some mean things to another classmate.
Yeah, we're talking about middle school bullying. Like, it couldn't have been that serious.
I'm just going to be straight up right now. Not half, maybe 30 to 40% of us in middle school, we were bullies. We said mean things to our classmates, you know, because we're kids.
I know. I bullied people. It's like,
I definitely did.
It sounds ridiculous. If you saw me in person, you would laugh. But it's like, I totally bullied people.
I totally bullied people. I would say, oh, your hair is this or something like that, right? But it's like stupid things that kids say.
Yeah.
Right? Did you learn from it? Yeah, you learned that, don't be a jerk.
You're right. You learn by doing stuff in school. And it's like, okay, obviously this is not the right behavior for the real world.
Yeah.
You learn that.
Now, do some people not learn that? Sure. But do the vast majority of people learn that? Yes. That's part of growing up with peers and, socializing and such. He said mean things to them in middle school. Do you know how many mean things I've said to people in middle school? I cannot even count. I'm absolutely sure I was worse than him.
Yeah, and I bet Korean middle school people are nicer to each other overall. It couldn't be like that bad.
The mean thing that he said probably wasn't even that mean. And he went to the trouble to rectify it before the age of 20 maybe, right? And he said, oh, I'm sorry that I did that. That was not right. Did he do that because he knew he was going to be a K-pop star? Okay, maybe. All right. But at the same time,
it might have been damage control, but still.
At the same time, did I ever do that for any of the people that I wronged? No, I didn't even do that. Should I lose my job today? No, that'd be ridiculous. And probably the people who I wronged, if you went and asked them, they would say, oh, should so-and-so lose his job because he said mean stuff to you back in middle school?
And they probably forgot all about what happened anyway.
I'm going to assume that he has matured from being a jerk kid. It's just a bad precedent that we're setting where people are not even allowed that. Cancel culture has just gone way too far. Fortunately, in this situation, he's not going to get canceled.
He might have been kicked out of the group then.
Yeah, he might have been. NCT is so large, they don't even care. He's one of the more important ones, but they could probably afford to just kick him out. Right? You can look at other K-pop examples where they just kicked you out. They didn't really investigate that much.
Right, like Wonho or other stuff like that.
That could have been him. How unfortunate would that be? And Korea, they're not even in the throes of cancel culture the same way we are, and yet you can still do that to people. So that's very unfortunate, very bad. It's a bad trend, and I hope that people fight it. If you're gonna hold me to the standards of what I did as a teenager, then I should just quit everything right now and I should just hide somewhere.
Thank you to our guest Morgan. You can find BTS Happy Hour on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, Castbox, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. New episodes weekly. Please comment, leave a review, or rate wherever you're listening to the podcast. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this has been the BTS Happy Hour. Thanks for listening, and remember, make every hour a happy one.